Listen, Tuesday is our tech slot on this programme. Delighted to be joined by the Professor of Cybersecurity with the Ulster University based at Magee. That is Professor Kevin Curran. Kevin, good to have you on. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mark.
Kevin, what about Meta? Meta is Zuckerberg, isn't it? And now Russian state media. We know, you know what? I don't know, but I get a sense that Russia do a lot of delving and there's a lot of skullduggery in the world in which you operate professionally. Are Meta starting to take the Russians as a threat, or what's going on here, Kevin?
Yeah, Meta, which also own Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Threads. So there are 4 big platforms, really, that they're saying that they're going to ban RT network and other networks as well. But RT is one of the famous news channels, really. Which
Russia Today, you used to get it on terrestrial here until it was banned by the UK regulator.
Exactly, and you can't even get it in your browser now. But it's seen as a propaganda network, as a tool for the Russian government. And anyway, to be honest, I was surprised that even Meta, that they were even on there, because Moscow themselves back in 2022 blocked Instagram and Facebook. And obviously the BBC as well. So there's so many outlets, Western media outlets, that are blocked in Russia again. So, of course, I don't even know why they had any type of audience on any of Meta's platforms.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, what's your insight in terms of interference in Western affairs? I mean, I'm not, painting every Russian person. It's not about that. But when it comes to the darkness of statecraft, what's your take on, the Russian report that we never got to see, Russian interference in Western democracy? Should we take that stuff seriously?
I believe so too. Look, I'm one of the few people here listening today who did interviews for Russia Today. And the day after Russia invaded Ukraine, I contacted anyone I had in Chinese media and Turkish media. I used to do a lot of Turkish media. And, of course, Russia Today as well. And I says, look, I'm so sorry, guys. Because, the people I dealt with were lovely. But I says, I cannot do any more interviews with you because of your lack of support for Ukraine and whatever else. So I haven't, and I never will again.
And did you feel handled by Russia Today in terms of, go and say this for us? Did you feel handled?
Not really, because when you get on there, actually, the times I did interviews, there were Scottish presenters, because, again, they're using Western, Scottish presenters, American presenters, and English presenters again. But the questions were heavily laid. They were always, again, kind of against America. But I did not have a problem, and I never do with any media, because I'll just speak the truth. And I'll say this about this and whatever else, even though there was always wanting me to kind of go further to knock the Americans or say this and that. But no, I just speak the truth. I say, okay, they could handle this better, or that could be. But it was usually about, I remember one of the interviews was about denial of service attacks. And of course, but there was always that thing. But again, I didn't want to block all avenues. I knew that, that we don't speak the same language back to them, but I never thought that they would go and do what they did. And all of a sudden then I felt naive and a little embarrassed, actually, that I wasn't as aware as maybe other people, but I didn't have access to national intelligence. I didn't see, them to be literally Putin and them to just be on a different planet. Mm. So therefore, no, I can stand over. The main thing is conscience. I can stand over interview I did. I gave the facts. I said this again, but unfortunately, I can never work with them again, because I've seen now the true nature that that we're incompatible with our beliefs and morals and whatever.
Okay, so Meta are banning Russian state media networks. Maybe it's the non-state players that are a greater danger, Kevin. I don't know.
That's possible again, but they have to be seen again that they do have. That they were found there a few weeks ago again, that there was this kind of influence network, or this media network in the United States called Tenant Media, and it had a number of influencers like David Rubin and others. And that what the Americans found was that actually, that in other words, they were given £10 million, worth $10 million, and that's a lot of money for particularly this particular media network which broadcasts on all social media. And they never really questioned what it was, but they found that really that the Bulgarian company they were working with was really Russian assets, and that they were kind of influencing the social media drops that they were doing, that were kind of siding with Russia and trying to denounce the United States again. So that came to light again. In other words, so a lot of influencers out there really will have to check, actually, if they're getting exorbitant amounts of money that, and again, seen to be a tool for Russian propaganda.
Gotcha. Kevin, you and I have disagreed down the years, I think, about Elon Musk and these sort of, I don't know, this men, children, guys who just love the sound of their own voices. And he's in bother this week. He tweeted appallingly about Kamala Harris in the wake of the threat against former President Trump on his golf course this weekend. I see Stephen Fry has said that Musk and Zuckerberg have polluted culture. In terms of they say he's used the phrase "the worst polluters in human history." Do you buy it? What's Musk up to, man?
Yeah, Stephen Fry gave an excellent talk at King's College, and basically a lot of the talk was about basically the dangers of AI or what we need to do about it. In other words, that it's like we've got our back turned to the ocean and there's a tsunami coming in. Stephen Fry again, he's really into technology actually, and of course he's a great thinker as well.
Yeah,
it's a wonderful speech. And of course, he just really, at the end of his speech, really is calling about the regulations for AI. But of course, to do that, like Elon Musk, really, he's come along and basically he's saying, well, why are they shooting Trump and not, Kamala and Biden as well? But that was just, again, he's got to be, of course, he owns a platform. He's got the most followers on Twitter, 190 million. But again, it's like he's forgotten that it's an echo chamber. One of the dangers of social media is that they act as these echo chambers where a hateful message is reinforced by like-minded individuals, and then they tend to snowball again. And it's like he's forgotten about that, really. And of course, the fact that he's got government contracts again, he's won the, Starlink, the satellites communication network above us is so important to the US military as well. Is that, that he's got to really watch again, because this could be seen as the FBI could legitimately investigate this as a threat.
I was reading earlier this week, and I think it was on the BBC, that he's experiencing a lot of losses in one particular arm of his sort of business empire. Kevin, you ever get the feeling that he's one of those guys who has everything material in life that anybody could ever want? I wouldn't be bothered with it. I've got a roof over my head, I'm happy. Running water and a bed to sleep in. But I think he's the kind of guy who's just dying to be liked and dying to be funny, but he kind of never will.
He's an enigma. Some days I get out of bed and I think, he's one of the greatest, innovators that we've seen. And then other days I think he's a charlatan. So it depends on what I've seen and which aspect I've been reading about again. But yeah, of course, when you get your first billion really, and your second billion, third billion really, what do you do then? But so again, very little. You can only sleep in one bed, and he kind of knows that. He doesn't even apparently own a house, so he gets us kicked out of whatever else. So now he will say he's an ardent believer in truth and saying things that it doesn't matter as long as he's got a clear conscience at the end. But there's so many things that many of us could argue with, really, and he has a one-way agenda. And again, it's just whether or not he's abusing his platform, given that. That he's the owner of it, and the algorithm works in his favor, that it can promote his tweets, rather than the rest of us again. It can be shadow banned, as you know, on Twitter, and your post cannot be seen as well. So he's got a lot of control over there. So whether it's fair game for the rest of us.
A lot of people say he's wrecked Twitter, the way he's prioritising it, the stuff, garbage that so often goes up. There's still enough good ones there, I think, to sort of hang on to it, Kevin. But where do you think it's... Do you think these guys need reeled in? I mean, how many billions is too many billions? You know what I mean? Does he have to own like half the world before somebody goes, here, fella, step back a bit, pay a bit more tax?
It's difficult, but you can't argue with the success in some things again. Look, it's SpaceX, forgetting about even Starlink, which is satellites, and then Tesla, which a lot of people... and Derry will have a Tesla, and then he's got Neuralink, which has done incredible things for allowing people who are locked in really to communicate with a computer. So then you take SpaceX this week, and they just sent 4 astronauts to the furthest part in space since the 1960s, and they did a spacewalk, and they came back safely again. Now, that's a private company doing that again.
It's a heck of a thing. It was a heck of a thing.
It is, and you can't argue with that.
And you'd say maybe a waste of money. What's the point? Billionaires up to have a nice view of the planet. Kevin, we could talk all day. Really appreciate that. Thank you for that. Professor Kevin Curran is a professor of cybersecurity with the Ulster University. Kevin's based at McGill.